Week 11 is on the horizon. Sunday is just a few days away, and today I'm going to break down a bunch of flex plays, some sneaky starts for those of you guys that need to help fill in some players for your bye weeks, deal with injuries, so on and so forth. I'm going to go through 3 wide receiver plays that I really like that are outside my top 24 wide receivers, 3 running back plays outside my top 24 running backs, and then 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends that are widely available in streamer territory, so on and so forth. So let's start with the wide receiver position, going to Calvin Ridley, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans. He has been absolutely nails over the last 3 games, a 32% target share or more in every game since DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Vikings, who the Titans play this week, are 26th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position, allowing 1.1 receiving touchdowns on the year. The second most targets per game at the wide receiver position at 23.3 targets allowed. That is a top 6 mark in the NFL for the touchdowns, a top 2 mark in the NFL for receiving targets, as well as top 6 mark for receiving yardage allowed to the wide receiver position. So they're going to try and light Will Levis up with blitzes. He's just going to get it to Calvin Ridley. I like him to go higher than 4.5 receptions this week over on Underdog. We're going to be building out a pick-em entry with these 3 wide receivers, and of course, you guys can tail it by hitting the link down below in the pinned comment. McConkey is the second receiver we're going to talk about here. Last week, we saw McConkey's first game all season where he failed to post at least a 19% target share. He's been heavily involved all season long as the go-to guy for Justin Herbert. He is leading the team with a 23% target share on the season. The Bengals against the Chargers on Sunday Night Football should be an exciting game, higher scoring game than we're used to. For the Los Angeles Chargers, they have not played an offense like this in a number of weeks. The Bengals also are 27th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position, allowing the 6th most targets per game and top 10 yardage marks and touchdown marks on the season per game to the wide receiver position. So McConkey in a very good spot to smash on Sunday Night Football. I actually like him to go higher than 21.5 for his longest reception. The Bengals have been allowing big plays to opposing wide receivers a lot, and in 5 of his last 6 games, McConkey has had a reception of at least 20 plus receiving yards. So I feel pretty good that he'll have a big play in this one. You could also play this through his receiving yardage or receptions total as well. But I kind of like playing it through the big play upside there because that's what Justin Herbert has done well off of play action the last couple of weeks. Jakobi Meyers is the third receiver we're going to talk about. He has quietly been a top 24 wide receiver in 4 of his last 5 games, over a 24% target share in all 5 of his last 5 games, and he has been on a tear since Davante Adams was traded to the Jets. The Dolphins are not the easiest matchup for wide receivers, but there's a lot of context that goes into this matchup because, A, Jalen Ramsey got hurt in practice this week. He might not be 100% if he plays at all. It's a quote that he could play on Sunday's game against the Las Vegas Raiders. And Jakobi Meyers, even if Ramsey does play, will only see 33% roughly of his routes versus Jalen Ramsey. And the other DBs on the Miami Dolphins, Cam Smith, and then I can't even pronounce the other guy's name, they're allowing 16+% target rates, high wide receiver 2 production in terms of fantasy points allowed per route covered. So I feel pretty good about Jakobi Meyers to continue his hot streak against the Miami Dolphins this week. They're also like a touchdown underdog, so they're probably going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. So I like Jakobi Meyers to go higher than 56.5 receiving yards against the Dolphins. That's the end of our pick'em entry. I will build one tomorrow in the running back tier list as well. If you guys want to tail this entry, hit the link down below in the pinned comment. Underdog Fantasy, promo code FSE when you sign up for up to $1,000 in bonus cash on your first deposit. This free Aaron Rodgers pick as well. You can add it into this entry, turn a 6x into a 10x if you're a new customer on Underdog, and if it hits, you would win up to 10x your money. So if you put in $10, you'd win 100 if this ends up hitting. And again, promo code FSE over on Underdog Fantasy. You guys know the drill. That is linked down below in the pinned comment. So getting into the running back position, like I said, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper at the running back position. We're going outside my top 24 running backs in a week where there's 4 teams on bye. So it doesn't really benefit you guys to say, oh, Kareem Hunt's a great play this week, or Chase Brown is a great play this week, or J.K. Dobbins is a great play this week. You guys probably are all starting those players because there's a very good chance that you have to because there's the guys that are on bye this week and, so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do here is going outside of my top 24, 25 running backs, give you guys some plays that are a little bit lesser known, deeper names that may even be on your waiver wire or at least easily available in trades or maybe just on the end of your benches. Alexander Mattison is the first one that we're going to talk about here. Mattison is a pretty decent volume play this week, in my opinion. I know before the bye, we saw his workload take a huge hit against the Bengals when they were getting boat raced back in week 9, but it wasn't Zamir White that was taking away the work. I realize he took away the goal line touch and he ended up scoring a touchdown in that game, but what we saw from Zamir White since he's been back from his injury, he has not eclipsed 14% of the snaps in 3 games now that he has been back. The issue was game script. Amir Abdullah played 49% of the snaps. He's the third down back. He's the, when you're getting killed back, you put him out there to catch passes and pass protect because you're dropping back like crazy. The Dolphins are 25th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back position. I think Alexander Mattison will get back to his 18-plus opportunity performances in 4 straight games from week 5 to 8. He had 18-plus opportunities in every single game. I think we're going to get a lot of solid volume out of Alexander Mattison in this one, and it's a decent matchup, so I actually think he's a half-decent play. Staying in that same game, we're going to go to the other side of the ball there with Raheem Mostert going up against the Raiders. Conversely, staying in that same game, I really like both of the Dolphins running backs. Of course, Achan's elite, but I also like Raheem Mostert to maybe get it done in this matchup as well. The wide receiver matchup for Tyreek Hill and for Jalen Waddle is very difficult. And, you know, Tyreek is hurt right now and Jalen Waddle's playing like shit. So I think the way the Dolphins win this game is with Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. These 2 running backs have the 30th ranked rushing defense in the Las Vegas Raiders in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back position. They're allowing nearly 5 yards per carry on the season, over a touchdown per game to the position as well. And Mostert's workload in week 10 wasn't very good, but they kind of abandoned the run game altogether against the Rams. The front was getting after Tua. It was stuffing the run really well. I don't think that will be an issue against the Las Vegas Raiders. I doubt that happens. It's a positive game script. They're favored by like a touchdown and also a bottom 5 run defense. I think that Raheem Mostert is going to be really involved in this game and game plan, game environment, and same with Devon Achane. So I really like playing it through those 2 running backs, not so much through the passing game, because I think Tua and the 2 wide receivers don't really have the greatest matchup. The Raiders have been much more of a run funnel type of defense than a pass funnel. So Audric Estime, the 3rd running back that I also want to mention here, the biggest waiver addition of the week at running back. He is a viable flex play right away off of the waiver wire. The Falcons, bottom 10 matchup for the running back position, but honestly, it's just based on them being such a pass funnel that nobody runs the ball against them. The running back position actually has the 4th most targets among all defenses in the NFL versus the Falcons defense. If Denver is able to keep this game close and maybe even win this game, they're actually favored at home by 2 points against the Falcons. That'll be great news for Estime because it'll actually put them in position to be able to run the ball, run the clock, maybe keep this game close enough that they can score a touchdown in the red zone or whatever. Estime has been the new lead ball carrier in Denver for a week now. They talked him up prior to this, saying that they wanted to get him more involved. Javonte Williams has not been efficient, averaging like 3.6 on the season on a yards per carry basis. He's going to be set, Audric Estime, to get 15 to 20 carries in this game and maybe a few targets, especially in this matchup. The Falcons are allowing targets to the running back position. And if this offense starts to figure things out, and this could be a good step in the passing game for that, I do think that Estime could end up being a pretty decent league winning type of player. I don't know about league winner necessarily, but an RB3, maybe RB2 on a weekly basis, just given the volume. That's basically what Javonte Williams was, and I just think Estime is playing at a better level than what Javonte Williams was doing. We'll have to wait and see how good the receiving workload is because it's not great right now, but maybe Estime can pick up that part of his game as we go forward. So getting into the quarterbacks and to the tight ends, I talked about these guys as streamers in yesterday's video, so I'll keep this a little bit brief, but Justin Herbert to me is the premier streamer at quarterback. I would start him over Jordan Love. I would start him over Patrick Mahomes. I would start him over Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, so many guys. He's literally my quarterback 8 on the week. The Bengals are 29th against fantasy quarterbacks, and Herbert has dropped back over 30 times in 4 of his last 5 games, which is a far cry from what they were doing at the beginning of the year because that didn't happen one time through the first 4 weeks of the season. So Herbert and the Chargers offense are throwing the ball more. He has been a top 13 quarterback in 3 straight weeks as well, with 19.5 PPR points per game in every single one or more. I am starting him over Jordan Love in my home league, so that should give you guys a vote of confidence that I believe quite a bit in Justin Herbert this week. Bo Nix, if you need a little bit deeper of a streamer name, I actually have my QB 10 this week, so he's not really that deep for me, but he is quietly QB 9 in fantasy, averaging 17.2 points per game. He has consistently been a top 15 quarterback. Only 2 games this season he's been outside the top 17, which is really impressive for a rookie. He has 6 games in a row of being a top 16 quarterback and 3 games in that stretch where he had over 21 points. Falcons are an exploitable defense, 21st in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the quarterback position, allowing the second most rushing attempts as well to the quarterback position and rushing yards. That is what Bo Nix can do well. We know he can scramble. We know he can run the ball. I really like Bo Nix to post a QB1 performance, which is why I have him ranked at QB 10 this week. So pivoting into the tight end position, for those of you guys that maybe have some guys on bye or whatever, maybe you have Cade Otton on bye or something, Cole Kmet and Hunter Henry are my 2 favorite streamers this week. Cole Kmet, I realize Caleb Williams has been a hot pile of donkey ass this year, but I think the right thing to do in this offense is to feed Cole Kmet, because the receivers on the outside against the Packers, not the easiest matchup, but with Shane Waldron fired and Kmet having the 29th easiest matchup, maybe we get a little bit of a spark plug for this offense, and I think Cole Kmet could have a pretty good target performance, maybe score a touchdown. I like him to have some targets in a pass-heavy game script against a team that's very good with Green Bay. Kmet's down usage also has always been a Shane Waldron problem. He has notoriously been stupid with tight ends, putting Gerald Everett out there, so on and so forth. I wouldn't be shocked if we see an uptick in Cole Kmet's usage as well, in addition to him maybe just being involved in the game plan. Hunter Henry, the other guy that I like this week, down week last week with just 2 targets versus a tough Bears defense. Very strong against the tight end position. This week, the Rams are 21st against tight ends, and Hunter Henry had 9, 6, and 8 targets prior to his 2-target game last week before that. So I think he has a top 10 ceiling this week, and he has had a lot of top 10 weeks. 3 of his last 5 games, he's been a top 10 tight end. I think Drake May will really rely on him against a Rams pass rush that has been really fierce and really strong. Get it to your over-the-middle target. Let him, make some magic happen. I think he could have 6, 7 catches in this game. So I feel pretty good about Hunter Henry and Cole Kmet. So that wraps up the sneaky starts. Again, if you want to tail our underdog pick, head on over to the link in the pinned comment. Promo code FSE up to 1,000 in bonus cash and the Aaron Rodgers free square that you guys can tail into that entry and make it a 10x. Also, flockfantasy.com. for all of our rest of season rankings, all of our weekly rankings, so on and so forth. You get tons of bonus content, including our new bonus video where we were breaking down the 2025 draft class, and also the guys over at the Fantasy Domain also launched their early draft guide for the 2025 class. So if you guys are Dynasty players, definitely check that out. Like, comment, subscribe if you guys enjoyed. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.